what's going on. So, things I've done to the truck. Things I'm still working on. We got new headlights installed. I got that bucket, that passenger side headlight bucket installed also. Buckets installed. I still got to fix this though. I need to clean all this up. Probably grind this down right here. Then clean all this up underneath here. And then reglass. I'm not a big fiberglass person, so I'll have to do a little research on that. I'm sure I could do it. Shouldn't be that hard. I just want to make sure I do it right. But yeah, new headlights. Suckers are bright too, which I've already thrown them away. I had headlights similar to this, but this the lens was like spider webbed and they were all yellow real bad. So I went ahead and got some new ones. So that's fixed. As far as the fuel issue goes, still having the fuel issue. It could be a number of things. It could be fuel lines. It could be the check valve. It could be being that I have the older style Davco, which is collared on bottom and not the bolt-on. It could be that O-ring, which is causing it to leak. It could be you have your lift pump here, and then on the back side of the lift pump, you have a high pressure fuel pump that pressurizes the fuel line. This motor runs off about 130 PSI of fuel pressure. And if that pump starts going bad, you start losing pressure going to the motor. It's still going to run, but you're going to start losing power, which I haven't noticed the loss of power or anything. So I don't think that's the issue. Yesterday, I wanted to test a few things out. So I pulled the fuel line off the inlet side. This is the check valve. You got this little ball spring and cage that sits right here. But I pulled this off and pointed it down and set a cup, kind of wedged a cup right in here. That way I could see if it fills that cup up. And then I put a bowl like that up underneath. Now that's from me emptying this. That's not from that leaking. But I did have a leak on the check valve. And then I did have a leak coming from down here. So I got a new O-ring coming. That O-ring wasn't the best when I took this apart and put it back together. So that O-ring right there on the old style dual collared Davco fuel water separator. If you go to Freightliner or anyone like that, all they can do is give you a part number. No one had it in stock anywhere in San Antonio. So I called a buddy of mine that, well, I'm not going to say a buddy. I called a guy I used to work, do business with in the oil field. He was our O-ring supplier. I called Davco to start with and got them to give me the dimensions, the inner outer diameter and the cross section of that O-ring. And then called the guy I used to do business with in the oil field. He used to supply all our O-rings, and gave him that. And he said it's a 249 O-ring. So if y'all are ever looking for the O-ring for this bottom section, and you don't want to order it online and go through Davco or anyone like that, if you can find a place in your town that has O-rings, tell them you need a either a Buna 90 249. The Buna 90 is just the durometer of the O-ring. Or what's supposed to be in there is a Viton 249. So, like I said, if y'all ever need an O-ring and you want to call like an O-ring supplier in your town, the O-ring on the bottom right here is a 249 O-ring. So I got that. He ordered it for me. It'll be in tomorrow. So I'll get the O-ring on there. But I am going to change the check valve out, and then I'm going to reinstall it, but I'm not going to hook up the fuel line. I'm going to fill this back up with this pointing down, and I'm going to stick that cup back in there and make sure that check valve's holding. Because if that check valve doesn't hold, then I need a new fitting. Because this might have some like micro scratches in it where that ball seats in here that allows fuel to get past the ball. So yeah, that's the update on this. I know it's leaking right here, so that should be my problem. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to said it's going to be your check valve on your return line. On this motor, I don't have a check valve on the return line. The only two check valves are the check valve on the inlet side, right here, going into the water separator. And then I have a non-serviceable check valve in the fuel pump, the high pressure fuel pump. But the way my return line runs, most return lines run off of the head back to the tank, and then they'll have a check valve back there that you know, keeps the fuel in the return line from draining back to the tank. The way this is set up, this runs from the head. The return line comes out of the head, drops down, converts to a steel braided cable, and then comes down into here. And then from here goes over to the tanks. Actually goes over to a fitting up there, and then drops down and goes to the tank. So that shouldn't be my issue. And if this is draining, then it's either going to be, well, it's got to be the check valve. And that's the only thing it can be. If it was the fuel line, the check valve would still be bad because it's allowing the fuel going back. Or the fuel lines here would have to be bad, which they're not. These aren't dripping. I'm getting a little drip off the bottom housing. So I'm going to go ahead and change the check valve, and then I went ahead and picked up a new ball valve right here, drain valve for it. And then I'll get the O-ring tomorrow. We'll put that on, and then again I'll let it sit with a bowl up underneath it to make sure nothing's draining out. And then I'm going to be taking the truck down tomorrow down to the mechanic to get the rear main seal and everything else changed on it. So I'm still debating if I want to do the transmission right now. I should change the transmission right now because we're pulling the transmission out. But I'm going to have to go up to Dallas to get the transmission. So I ain't made up my mind if I'm going to go ahead and change that out yet or not. I know I need to. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. Like I said, new headlights. That bucket's fixed, so the bezel's fixed. The headlights don't shake anymore. And then, you know, I'm just trying to figure out this fuel system to get it to stop bleeding back or losing prime. But other than that, that's about it. I'll keep y'all updated. I know excuse me. I know some other people's asked about, you know, asked me to keep them updated on the fuel issue. So yeah, I'll keep y'all updated and we'll let y'all know. But anyway, we'll holler at y'all later. Well, new fittings in. As you can see, or the new check valve. As you can see, it's still dripping. So what that tells me is that that ball is not seating against the fitting. So I'm gonna have to call tomorrow and get a new fitting. Then we should be good. That should stop that. So I'll pick up that fitting. I'll be able to pick up the O-rings. And I went ahead, I got like 20, I ordered 20 O-rings. That way I could service them about that. I change that O-ring out about every 3 or 4 months. You know, or maybe every 6 months. But them O-rings are only, I think I got them for like $1.80 a piece. So why not have them? And like I said, change it out about every 6 months or so. But yep, she's still leaking. So like I said, that ball that sits in here seats up against this fitting. So obviously there's something in this fitting, some scratches or something, you know, where it's worn over time, and it's seeping around that ball. So we'll get that tomorrow, the O-rings tomorrow, and hopefully this will fix the issue I've been having with losing prime. Like I said, I don't lose prime completely. It's just harder to crank in the morning. It takes longer to roll the motor over than it should. So we'll see tomorrow. Car's loaded up, off to the mechanics we go. Look at him. He's just over there watching. What is this fool doing? Anyway, finally getting to the mechanic. He's only like 12 miles down the road, but yeah, this is what you do when you don't have someone that can pick you up. Just load it on the trailer and take it with you. Anyway.